Well, what do we have here? An Apple iPhone 4S and a brand new HTC One X. Super phones, for sure. This video is just a brief overview of the hardware and a little bit of the software, but to get a better idea of comparisons, check my other videos. I'm going to have some speed tests and some app tests and describing in depth the detail between these two phones. But here we go. iPhone 4S. How do you know it's a 4S? Well, can't tell. Haha. It still looks like the iPhone 4. I can fire up our good friend Siri, and it shows you guys that it's a 4S. It's not jailbroken, it's stock from Apple, so don't complain. Same thing with the HTC One X. It has not been rooted, it has not been adjusted, it is factory standard. No modifications. That being said, how do they look? How do they feel? How do they respond in your hand? Well, iPhone 4S, a lot of people have seen, a lot of people have used. To me, the iPhone is heavy. Some people call that solid or well-designed. I call it heavy. HTC, on the other hand, is a bigger phone, but it's lighter than the iPhone 4S. And it's not as cheaply thin and light like the Samsung Galaxy series. I think they tend to feel a lot thinner and lighter and junkier. HTC One X feels solid. Feels like a nice phone, doesn't feel too heavy, doesn't feel light. Comparing these guys side by side, it's not, they're close, but you know, the HTC has a lot more screen real estate. So let's see what else we can say on the surface here between these two guys. Obviously the biggest difference between these two is the sheer size of the display. Apple's still stuck in their 3.5-inch screen. Who knows if they'll ever get out of that size and go bigger. HTC calls this a 4.7-inch display, and just by looking at the two you can tell there's a pretty significant difference between these. Thickness, edge to the HTC, not by a whole lot. I don't know the specs on the thinness versus the thickness of the Apple versus the HTC. HTC does have that nice curved shape to it, a la Galaxy Nexus. Fits your hand really well. Apple iPhone, same design as the iPhone 4, so no change there. You gotta sort of give note too that the 4S has been around since September, and the HTC One X is fairly new within the last month, and so it does have that going for it. Now, in terms of the back of these phones, if we set them down and take a look, Apple has this glass sort of display, not display, but glass backing camera up here. It's nice to hold this glass, but it breaks is the first thing. The second thing is it does have, excuse me, it does have a nice sort of gleam to it, right? And it is pretty awesomely designed. This glass, even though it's delicate, is pretty nice. HTC One X, it has this anodized metal with this sort of rubbery texture to it. It's not rubber, but it's also not hard like metal. It's sort of in between, and it's beautiful. And this thing is one of the most beautifully designed phones I've seen. It has this these speaker cutouts here are just awesome. They're just precision machined and just look really nice. The back of this phone is just pretty superb. The camera inlay is really nice. Yeah, so when you feel this, you'll know what I'm talking about. But that being said, let's switch around to the front of these guys and take a look at the business end. You know, a lot of people argue what's better, Android, Apple. I don't think you can really say what's better. I think it's more about what you like. So to compare these two, it's a little bit unfair, but it basically comes down to, if you're an Android person, you will probably like the HTC One X. If you're an Apple person, I'm sure you're already using an iPhone 4S. But on the surface, these displays They are both stunning. The HTC display is by far the best Android screen I have seen on an Android smartphone, period. It definitely rivals the display on the iPhone 4S, no doubt about it. I had been using the Galaxy Note, which was a great phone, and the display on that was pretty stunning as well, but this takes it up a notch. The crispness in the text, the accurate colors, you just have to see it in person. And I know a lot of people might roll their eyes from the Apple camp about that and how, oh, Apple does everything better and you know, Retina display, this and that. But you really have to pick up one of these phones to tell the difference, or not tell the difference, but see what I'm talking about and see how really nice it is. The other thing about these guys that we can compare is the camera. Both of them tout an 8-megapixel camera, and we'll probably do some camera tests and some other videos. And the iPhone 4S camera is pretty awesome, and HTC touts their 8-megapixel camera as being really good as well. So we'll take a look at that. Now the other thing that this includes is Beats audio. I've heard that that's sort of a gimmick. Apple doesn't have any sort of brand recognition with their audio. I guess you could call iTunes sort of a brand now, but I think the HTC One X with the Beats audio just, I don't know. I tend to not buy into that kind of stuff. I mean, if a phone has some sort of integration with a music service, then that's fine by me. So I'm just going to leave that at that. Let's see if there's anything else to really talk about. Not necessarily. We'll go into further details in some other videos, but for now, this is the HTC One X and Apple iPhone 4S.